Good morning, y'all. It is like only 5:15 in the morning, and I just wanted to see what this would look like. It is July 4th, so happy Independence Day. Goose wants to say hi. Tempest wants to say hi. Hey, baby. Gosh, she's already up. I thought I might try to do a video with the sun coming up and see what happens. So I think I'm going to see. See what happens. Hey, baby. Huh? No, she's like, no, don't pet me right now. All right, so and the coffee, So he, small update, he put the rabbits right up under the deck. We've had some fair bit of discussions about, just where we're going to put them, what we're going to do with them. As far as the rabbits are concerned, summer, winter type situations. And I think that is a good discussion to try to make sure that we're putting them kind of where we want to keep them. We don't want to have to move them around a whole bunch. So, welcome to the Sage Pumpkin as the sun is coming up. It has been a week. By the way, the rabbits, getting back to the rabbits really fast, they're in predator-proof cages. So they will be fine, not in the woven wire, like inside the pasture. I was a little worried about them because I'm like, okay, well, even if predators could not actually literally get to them and hurt them, eat them, at least kill them, whatever, I just still kind of felt like, well, they could be traumatized by it, but I guess he just thinks they'll be all right. At the moment, they seem to be doing okay. They've been out here for, I think this is the second day that he's tried to, it would be the second full day, because he had them in there all of yesterday. They were under there. It's just to definitely make sure that they have coolness, breeze, lots of air. We were not around as much yesterday, so we didn't put them onto the grass like we normally do, because normally we'll take them and put them onto the grass. But that was not the case yesterday. Yesterday they'd been pretty much sitting in that spot. So, anyway, that's the small update about the rabbits. It really is beautiful out here. I don't know if I'm fully in the frame here. Let me see. Trying to make sure I've got the ability for you to, if the cows or the sheep or whoever want to, I have a thing about letting them walk through the frame. I like to be able to see them walking through the frame. And there's more light coming because of the sun is coming up. Anyway, so I thought I might try to do a devotional type thing, but I'm not sure if it's gonna. The first time I attempted to do a devotional, it ended up being, there was lots of good stuff in there, and I feel like I totally showed my personality, and you were able to kind of get to know me and everything, but sometimes I wonder if letting the Lord lead is, sometimes it can be embarrassing, and sometimes it can be totally what you expected it to be, and this amazing thing. So I'd say get a cup of coffee real quick, come back. I'm going to attempt it again, but obviously with Independence Day being the day, I thought I might talk a little bit about, what that might mean here, at least now. So freedom that we have as a country. I always try to make sure I teach the kids every Independence Day that comes when we school at home. It's about, I talk about why we have an Independence Day. Why do we have a celebration? What is it? What's it for? What's the purpose? And usually they're pretty good about remembering what I've been teaching them from the beginning. We always go over it. It's the birthday of our country. It's very much part of who we are and what we do in America. Growing up, it was definitely something in my childhood that we absolutely celebrated every year. It was never something we didn't celebrate. So it's been sort of ingrained in my childhood, and I just want to make sure that when I'm teaching my kids about it and we celebrate it, they know what the purpose is. Because some similar meme came up from Memorial Day where they're talking about, well, this is going to be the most expensive holiday that you've ever celebrated because people died for you to have that cheeseburger or that barbecue or that time in the pool or that fill in the blank of how people celebrate Memorial Day or Independence Day or any of these types of things. It is not just the birthday of the country. It was about preserving something very specific, which was the freedom to do, the ability to have the freedom to do things. And people during the war for independence, people were defending their homes as well as their ways of life. It wasn't just about the fact that they would get to do whatever they want to do. That's not what it's about. It's about having the ability to worship God without restrictions, to not have to pay some other country in order to have tea. I mean, that's just one example, but that's one of the more famous examples. The concept of freedom can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but it still has the same thing at the core of it, which means you're not enslaved to somebody else or something else. And that could look like a lot of different things too. It could look like, being in this country and having the ability to tell others about what's going on in the country you came from, whether you were born there and escaped it or whether you went there to report about it or what have you. The ability to tell the rest of the world, this is what's going on here. The ability to go to whichever church you feel God is calling you to, or to be able to have an education in a field that you want to be educated in. That's definitely a freedom in some other places, but it's definitely not a freedom in some places. It could look like freedom in Christ, where you know him, you've been born again, you have that relationship with him, you know what it is to not have to sin. And that's probably a pretty big struggle I'm trying to teach my kids right now. It's a hard concept because they're still young in the point that you're trying to talk them through it. What happened? Why did you do this? That kind of thing. And they're like, I don't know. I have no idea. And then you're like, well, I can tell you, I can show you in the Bible, because you're letting yourself, you're not stopping yourself. You're sinning because you have this weakness here. Pretty basic. You have the ability to talk to Jesus when you get to a certain place with that, and you can ask him to help you to not do that, and you can choose to not do that. It's called freedom in Christ. and they just don't, they're still not there yet. So they're still learning. But I just keep teaching them, because that's what we do. We're parents. You got to just keep helping them through that train of thought, that ability to try to take those steps. It's just a training thing. It's like training them to go to the bathroom when they need to go to the bathroom, or training them to make the bed when they get up in the morning first thing. There's all of that. So, but that freedom in Christ can look different for somebody else. That could be the ability to not drink anymore, or not gossip, or to not go and hang out with those people who are going to put you in a bad position, and you're going to have such a struggle trying to make the right choices for yourself and other people. It's very broad. It's a broad subject. Actually, on a side note, y'all, I just noticed that there's not nearly as much traffic this morning as there usually is. Because usually I'm like having to get loud and talk and all of that kind of thing. I love the sun coming up thing. Also, the slight distraction of not having so many animals running around me, looking over here and I'm looking over there, and because I have a tendency to do my videos and be sort of looking in other places at whatever it is they're doing. I do that with my kids too. I feel like I'm constantly trying to make sure everybody's good or staying in line or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, side note. I think the other thing too is the freedom to live your life in general the way you want to. I may not agree a lot with some of the ways that people live, and that's just going to be you're not always going to agree with everybody, but you have the freedom to do that here. You still have the freedom to live that life here to a certain degree, as long as you're not breaking any laws, which is a whole nother subject. But you have that freedom here. I dropped my hair tie. I do not see where it went. I will find it later. Anyway, I would think for us personally, besides having freedom in Christ, we personally have been learning about the freedom of living the life, that we are choosing to live. And I think for us, more specifically, it's kind of showed itself some when we went to buy the property, or look for property to buy, I should say. The choices that we made about where we wanted to be, because that, do we want to place ourselves inside of an HOA or some type of place that's going to put those restrictions on us? We chose not to, because we want so many things specifically that we can't do in an HOA. And it's amazing to me that even when you come out to the rural areas, there are still a lot of places that are very much HOA, even though you're like smack dab in the middle of like rural. We almost got one of those. They were having a road maintenance agreement, and I was just talking to someone about it a couple days ago, and it had restrictions in it about what you could do on the property, even though you have like 3 to 5 acres or something like that. I think it was 5 acres. And it just boggles the mind. I get to a point where I'm like, really? What? Why? But I mean, again, it's people who have the ability to put in place, well, we don't want people moving next to us to have cows. So I mean, I get that there's a way to do that. And that's what they did, is they basically just put away to make sure that they kind of had somewhat the living conditions that they wanted. That's putting restrictions. It's taking away some freedoms. But if someone is going to move in there willingly and go into that knowing that, well, we don't want those things, so it doesn't really matter to us, then that is perfectly fine, and that is up to you. You have the freedom to do that. So when we got the property, we were excited to be able to have, we made sure that it wasn't in something like that, and it's not. So we have all kinds of freedom to have the animals and things like that. We actually found out we're in a county that is very minded for. What's up, Tempe? I'm not really sure what she's doing. She's making noise and flapping. Hello, pay attention to me. Of course, she could come around and talk to me, but she's not, you can see. Anyway, we have a lot of freedom on our property, and the county is very much towards trying to make sure that the people who live here have that freedom if they want it. It's about that, really, to be able to do the things you want to do agriculturally, livestock, garden, what have you. And I really enjoy that. There you go. We did find out that their struggle is real in the country, where the people in the government, or the people who are wanting to be in the government. Hey, baby. What? I see you. I know. Hold on a second. See if she'll let me pet her. No. She's like, I want your attention, but I don't want you touching me. Okay. The struggle is real with that, and I think part of that has to do with the fact that anytime you have freedom, it's going to be someone somewhere is going to try to take it away. Whether that be people in the government itself, administration, you label it, fill in the blank, whatever it is you want to do. The Christian person who's having a struggle with the freedom, a lot of the time you're struggling with yourself. Right? It's a pretty big struggle, because your flesh wants to do whatever it wants to do, and you're struggling against it, enslaving itself to its sinful nature. That's in the Bible in a number of different places. The other thing too is, you have an enemy. Peter said that you have an enemy. He's prowling around like a roaring lion, and he's seeking whom he can devour. And he does things in a lot of different ways. And one of the things sometimes I feel like he does, whether you're a Christian or not, is he's distracting. He's distracting you, whether he's using the media, or whether he's using the government, or whether he's using whatever. It could be so totally circumstantial in whatever's going on. He can try to distract you with something going on the TV, because that's a weakness. You get caught up in the TV. Or he's trying to distract you with just life in general, getting busy, being involved. And I am not saying there's anything wrong with being involved in church, and being involved in groups and Bible studies and serving. Those are all fantastic things. But he can distract you with those things in being involved, rather than making sure you're taking the time to have that relationship every day, seeking him in his word, praying to him. He can distract you with other things. And as he's distracting you, he's taking those little bits of your freedom away. You're a slave to time, or you're a slave to the TV, or you're a slave to the chocolate cake, or you're a slave to, whatever. And I've seen a lot in our country, at least, because, again, it's coming back to being Independence Day in our country specifically. A lot of freedoms are being trying to, they're either changing the parameters, or they're taking them away, but they're testing it. They're freedom of speech, freedom to do business, freedom of you living your life. Because they know better than you. They think that you need to do it a certain way so they can control you. I'm trying super hard not to get really into the whole political agenda. I'm trying really, really hard not to. It's kind of hard not to. But y'all, don't let go of that freedom. Do what you can to fight against the enemy, which is Satan. I'm not saying that you need to agree with anything that I agree with. I am not saying that. I am saying that you need to be paying attention and not be distracted. And I'm saying you need to see what and get more than one side of the story, because that's what happens in trials. That's what happens in, it says in the Bible, someone comes along and they tell their story and they seem right until someone else comes along and they tell their part of the story. Total huge. I think that's a mosquito. Yeah, landed on the top of my phone. Just speaking of distractions. Hear as many sides of the story as you can and try to be super unbiased when you hear it, and just try to hear what's going on. Don't let them tell you what they're feeling. It's not about feelings. It's about what's actually happening. Honestly, that's what it's about. Because everyone's going to have their opinion and everyone's going to react and feel a certain way, which is another thing I was going to mention. Is a lot of the time when people are especially angry and they're taking their anger out, or you see with kids all the time, this person says this and they're trying to sort of, they're baiting them, they're trying to control them, they're trying to pick on them, they're trying to get a reaction out of them, and that other person just boom, the reaction's there, and they get upset or they get angry and want to hurt that person back. I don't think I got it. That was a really big mosquito though. I was like, should I turn my phone off and try to kill this thing? No, he's flown away. I hope he's not going to bite me on the leg, because he's pretty big. Anyway, it's a thing. It's a thing to do. I was kind of on a train of thought and I lost it. Hearing all sides of the story. Oh, the reactions. So, usually the reaction, if someone's baited you, and again, like I said, it's very visible in kids. I think I would know. I have 4 of them. This person's egging this person on, they're baiting them, they're bothering them because they know they can, they know that person's going to take that bait, and the other person gets angrier and angrier, and there's arguing, and that's, it's not about what's being said, and I mean, it is about what's being said, but at that point, it's also because the person getting angry, here comes spooky, the person getting angry is seeing that this person is trying to make them angry, and it's just fueling the anger. And so finally it gets to a breaking point, and that person just kind of snaps. And the whole idea and the whole goal is, how can I hurt this person back? And sometimes that becomes a very literal thing. Sometimes that's, hey, spooky, right in my frame. Sometimes it's a physical, don't drink my coffee, dude. My coffee. Oh my goodness. Your rear end is in my butt. Stop. So then you have to deal with that. And I think a lot of the thing is, one of the other big things we're trying to super teach our kids is to do the right thing no matter how you feel. It's like a motto in our house. It's a mantra. It's one of the things, because doing the right thing no matter how you feel is going to be better than what could happen. And it's a really hard thing. But I think that a lot of, I was making the other devotional video I was talking about a lot of adults not knowing how to adult in that generation. I think somewhere right after millennials or what have you. And it's my thought process is that no one ever taught them how, or they didn't really care to learn, or a combination of both. And I think part of that, a huge part of that, is that nobody, and I had to learn it too, because being in my background, it was just not something that I learned. So controlling your emotions or controlling your reactions to your emotions is huge. Self-control is one of the biggest things I see lacking in our society. There's just not a lot of self-control. People just say whatever it is they feel like you're going to say. Some people are better at using that for manipulation, and they can control what they're doing. So you see now I'm looking because he's over by the rabbit cages. it's a thing that I don't see a lot of. And I just want to put that out there too. It's a lot of problems could be avoided if people just learn self-control, including me. And that's part of that concept of trying to teach our kids, well, you ask Jesus to help you, and he's going to help you not do that, buddy. You don't have to go there. You don't have to do it. And teaching him to ignore when somebody is saying something to him, like his big sister, to purposefully bother him. You don't have to give into it. You can walk away. You can ask them to stop. And of course, he has asked them to stop. But he's still working on that walking away part. I still have yet to find out that he's turned around and he's walked away from the situation. That's a really, really hard one for him. He just hasn't accomplished it yet. He's too busy arguing back or getting upset about what they're saying and letting it control his emotions. So we're working on that. But again, distractions. You're taking away your freedom by distracting you. And what is one of the easiest ways to distract somebody? Get them into an argument, get them into a fight, get them riled up about their opinion about something. You focus on that. It's easy not to focus on other things about what's going on, like really important things going on around you. So anyway, that's my blurb for Independence Day. Thank you for joining me at the Sage Pumpkin Homestead. I'm not sure I did a proper intro, and I apologize for that. The sun is up. Half an hour, so it's probably, I'm going to say, it's probably 5:45 now. And the sky isn't purple anymore. I'll show you the sky as I'm closing the video out. But thank you for joining me and listening to my, hopefully the Lord led. That was my goal. I was trying to be not going into politics at all either. Because really you're going to believe what you believe, and I'm going to believe what I believe. But we don't have to fight about it, y'all. We don't have to fight about it. Freedom. We have the freedom not to. So, until next time, y'all, join me again when you can at the Sage Pumpkin Homestead and be blessed.